Hey guys, today we're in the book of 1 Kings chapter 19. So we left Elijah running away and running to Jezreel from Mount Carmel, where he defeated all of the prophets of Baal. And we pick up and it says, Ahab told his wife Jezebel what Elijah had done. And notice what happens. Jezebel instantly is mad at Elijah, and she says, so may the gods do to me more if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow. What's interesting is Jezebel wasn't mad that Baal was defeated or the prophets of Baal were defeated. She was mad that basically Elijah made Baal look like a false god, made him look like he was not strong enough or powerful enough. And so she basically gave a death threat and sent everything that she had at him, being the queen, to get him killed. And instantly he runs away afraid, and it says he goes to Beersheba. Beersheba is about 80 miles south of Jezreel. It's in Judah. It would have been a long journey, a multiple day journey, but he goes to this place named Beersheba, and then it says he goes an extra day's journey into the wilderness. So he is deep in there by himself, no servants, away and hiding away from Queen Jezebel. But notice what happens. He sits down under a broom tree and he prays that he might die. This is Elijah. This is the man who literally prayed and said that caused a 3.5-year drought just a few years before this. The Lord hears his prayers and the Lord answers his prayers. He is a mighty man of God. And here he sits and says, hey, God, will you kill me? It says, is it enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers. He's just saying, I'm a sinner. I'm not worthy. Just go on and take me now. But notice what he honestly needs. And this is a great takeaway moment for us, right? He's in this depressed state. He's alone, wanting to die. And what does God give him? He gives him a nap. It says he lays down and he sleeps under a broom tree. And then after his nap, he wakes up and the Lord provides a cake, a bread, and a water. It provides him a snack. If that wasn't enough, we see that he goes on and he continues to do this. He lays down and takes another nap. He goes to sleep. Think of all that he's done, all that he has went and showed before Ahab and all the prophets. He has ran to Jezreel. Now he's ran 80 miles south to Beersheba. He is exhausted. And it's most of the time when we are exhausted is when we get in a depressed state, when we're crying out to God to do things that we normally wouldn't want God to do, as Elijah's asking to take his life. And so we don't know how long is happening, but here it tells us that it happens more than once or twice, right? This would have taken multiple days, if not weeks, for Elijah to regain his strength, to come to his senses. He's taking naps. He's being supernaturally fed by angels delivering food. And then eventually God says, hey, I need you to go somewhere, right? When we get to this depressed state, we turn inward. We look at ourselves. Well, God knows that's not a good thing. We need to look on the outward. We need a task. We need a job. And so here, God's going to send him on a job. And he's going to send him to Mount Horeb. Now, you know Mount Horeb as Mount Sinai. It's the same place, same mountain, two different names. And he's going there for, notice the length, 40 days and 40 nights. Does that sound familiar, right? We see that on the ark, we see 40 as in the 40 days of wilderness when Israel was spiritually away from God. God sent them away for 40 years. Well, here he's sending Elijah on a task for 40 days to draw closer back to God. When we get to verse 9, it's an interesting verse. In the English, it's very simple. It says, there he came to a cave and he lodged. In the Hebrew, it uses definite articles. It's talking about the cave. He came to the cave. What cave do we know of so far as we've read through the Old Testament on Mount Sinai? Well, it's the cave. It's the cleft in the rock. It's the place where Moses got to see the train or the shadow of God in Exodus 33. This is the exact same place. God brings Elijah back to this place, the cave, the cleft of the rock, because he needs to show Elijah that he is God and he has everything in control. And so he asked Elijah, what are you doing here? Well, God already knows the answer, but he's giving Elijah a place to talk. He's giving him a place to vent. And that's exactly what Elijah does. He vents, right? I'm the only person who loves you, and I've done this and I've done that. Why would you let all of this misfortune, all these bad things, people are trying to kill me and this and that. God, you're not with me. God, you hate me. Why would you let these bad things happen? And then God says, go out and stand at the edge of the cave. Go out on the very end of the cave and stand. And it says that the Lord will pass by. But then it talks about there was a strong wind who tore through the mountains, but he wasn't in the wind. And there was an earthquake, but he wasn't in the earthquake. And then there was a wildfire, and it wasn't in the fire. But notice there was a low whisper. And then, and only then, did he hear the voice of the Lord. Elijah is much like us. We want God to show up big, and we want him in the dramatics, and we want fire and lightning, and we want him on our side, and we want the big and the bold. But listen, God is still on the throne, whether he's in the big and the bold or whether he's in the small places. God is not a God of dramatics just for dramatic's sake. God is a God of peace and of gentleness and of grace and mercy. God is a God that we find in that humble place, in that quiet place. When we come to him, when we are at our the brink of breaking, that's where God is. He's in the whisper. Not in the dramatic, but he's in the whisper. And instantly Elijah hears him in the whisper, and he wraps his face up. He knows God is there. He humbles himself, and God asks him the same question. What are you doing here? This is the same question he just asked literally minutes or hours before, right? What are you doing here? And Elijah gives the same. Everybody's out to get me, and everybody's hurt me, and the prophets, and this and that and that and this. And then God says, listen, I need you to do something for me. Quit focusing on yourself and focus on me. I need you to go all the way up into Syria. That's north of Israel, another trek all the way up. I need you to go to Syria, and I need you to anoint a new king of Syria. And you shall anoint Hazael. And on your way down, you're going to come back through Israel, and I know Ahab is the king, but you're going to anoint a new king because Ahab's not going to be king any longer. I need you to anoint Jehu. And when you anoint him to be Jehu, and then I need you to anoint another prophet. This guy named Elisha, not Elijah, he's Elijah, a new prophet, Elisha. And so God says, hey, you're focused about all of this and you want me to do this and that and that. Listen, just listen to my voice. I have a plan. Everything's in control. Do this. Anoint Hazael, anoint Jehu, anoint Elisha, and everything will be okay. Keep your eye on me. Listen to the small whisper and everything will be okay. And that's exactly what he does. He goes and he'll do this, and he'll anoint Hazael, he'll anoint Jehu, and he'll anoint Elisha. And he comes to Elisha, and it says he cast his cloak upon him. He put his outer garment on him. And this was just a symbol of saying, I'm taking off the coat of prophecy and I'm putting on you, Elisha. You're going to be a new prophet for Israel. You're going to be a new prophet for God. And he humbly takes this and he goes back and he commits and he sacrifices some bulls, some oxen. He sacrifices them, and then he says he arose and he went after Elijah and he assisted him. And this whole time Elisha has been down and against himself. Elisha needed a nap. He needed a snacky snack. He needed to follow God's plan. He needed to hear God's small voice. He needed to know that God was still there. And he needed a friend. He needed Elisha. He needed somebody to come alongside of him and help him to do God's ministry and to whisper God's voice in his ear. Hope that makes a little bit more sense on this chapter, and we will see you tomorrow in chapter 20. God bless.